We were about to finally get an answer as to what was causing our daughter's vision impairment as well as her developmental delays, and the diagnosis was big. But in no way did it scare me into thinking that my worst nightmare would happen within the next year and that our daughter would pass away. We had just been to the ophthalmologist. They said her eyes look great. We think it's something going on in the brain. We got scheduled for an MRI within 1 week, which was amazing. So Poppy was about 4.5 months at this point, and she had to be under anesthesia to get her MRI. And our local hospital had this policy that anyone under the age of 12 months had to be monitored for a full 24 hours after having anesthesia. So after the MRI happened, Poppy and I had to stay at the hospital for 24 hours, and my husband went home to take care of our 2 older children. That was her first ever hospital stay, and she did great. I believe we were just like a couple hours away from being discharged that next morning. A resident doctor came in the room. It was just me there. My husband was not there. This was not our pediatrician, and she walked in and said, "We found something on the MRI. Would you like to hear the news?" She was very somber, very serious, and even though I was by myself, I thought, yes, I need to know the news, because we thought it would take a couple of days, and I was just shocked that they had something so quickly. She proceeded to tell me that Poppy was missing the center part of her brain, which is called the corpus callosum. I didn't take anatomy. I don't know the brain, so I felt like she was speaking a different language to me. Like, she's making this seem really serious. I don't even know what that word is. I remember pulling out my phone and asking her to spell corpus callosum out for me so I could accurately relay this information to my husband. Like, I just had no idea that this word would become a part of our vocabulary for the rest of our lives. But what it is it's the center part of the brain, all of the white matter in the middle that connects the 2 sides so they can talk to each other. That's the corpus callosum. I remember feeling a little, like, I don't know if I want to call it relief, but the fact that they found something with Poppy's brain made it feel like we weren't crazy as parents, if that makes sense. Quick pause. One of the questions I get asked so much is how come they didn't notice that Poppy was missing this part of her brain during prenatal ultrasound? I don't know. I guess it's possible to see that in prenatal ultrasounds. From what I know, no one with Poppy's specific genetic disorder has ever been diagnosed before they were born. So I don't know. They just did not see it in utero. I think they just didn't see anything else wrong with her, so they again weren't looking for anything to be wrong. This doctor said your pediatrician will follow up with you in a couple days, which he did. It was already on the calendar. But in those couple of days, my husband and I came home, we just became Google doctors. We were trying to educate ourselves as best as we could, and so we were joining these Facebook groups for people and children missing their corpus callosum. And what we were seeing was nothing that was too scary. Adults and children sharing stories of how they were thriving. We were seeing that, yeah, there might be a few more hurdles in life. It might take extra work and effort to reach goals that the typically brained person might reach more easily, but it's possible and it's doable. We just thought, yeah, this will be a bit more work for us as parents, but we're gonna do it. And don't get me wrong, we had so many tears and we did have fears. But I felt like after a couple days of that, we had to push it aside so we could move forward with the future and have a game plan for Poppy's life and for our life moving forward. I think it was just 3 days later, we met up with our pediatrician and he kind of walked us through the same information together. And he said, we are going to send you guys to a pediatric neurologist, so a child brain expert over at the local children's hospital, which is about 40 minutes from us. And he said, but there's no openings for 3 whole months. He thought that was crazy. We thought that was crazy. He said, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into all of the therapies that Poppy's going to need. I believe it was early July when we started jumping in and doing the therapies that we thought would help our daughter thrive and succeed in life and continue to grow. One thing I will say is I remember our pediatrician, I think he was kind of talking to himself and I don't know, talking it through with us. And I remember him saying something like, I wonder what caused this. As in I wonder what caused that center part of the brain to not develop. And I remember thinking we don't need to know that. We just know it's not there. That's what's causing the vision impairment. That's what's causing the developmental delays. Yeah, so we know that that's missing. So let's just move forward. Whereas I think in his mind, he was still kind of processing there's more to it, whereas we were just trying to move forward. And ultimately, over the next couple months, we would see that the therapies were not going to go in the direction that we had hoped.